got a bunch of
a little bit different.
Hey everybody, on this episode of Unbeatable, I get a chance to introduce you to Bobby Gunn. Chances are you've never heard that name before, but I just wrapped up the conversation with him. This 73-0 undefeated bare-knuckle fighter has just become a guy that I have the absolute utmost respect for. In fact, every minute that I was listening to him, I was more and more impressed by him. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let you hear from this real life Cinderella man, Bobby Gunn, on this episode of Unbeatable.
These stories of triumph over adversity will help you handle your toughest days in life and become unbeatable.
Hey, Bobby, thank you for joining me on this episode of Unbeatable.
Thank you so much for having me on.
I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long, long time because I get a chance to talk to a real life Cinderella man in this episode. You know, one of my favorite movies personally is the Russell Crowe Cinderella Man movie. Oh, yeah. And you are kind of that guy, you know, the living example of the Cinderella Man on this episode.
I met Russell Crowe right after he made that movie, The Cinderella Man.
No way.
I fought June the 5th. June the 5th, the movie just came out. And I said that weekend, I just fought a fight. And I'm walking along my wife, and she went, there's Russell Crowe. And he knew who I was, and we were talking. He was the nicest man you ever met.
No way.
It was in, now you went to the movie theater in New York. You would never believe. Nobody recognized him.
I'm so impressed, man. I would love to be able to grab Russell Crowe, especially right after a movie like The Cinderella Man. And you are the real Cinderella Man. And now the real guy gets a chance to play or gets a chance to meet Russell Crowe. Almost nobody listening to this episode is going to recognize your name, Bobby Gunn, right away, unless they saw that just 2 days ago, your story just dropped in the book Bare-Knuckled. So I want people to know about the book, but this episode is not about the book. This episode is about the guy who fought 73-0 in bare-knuckle fighting.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the results on his knuckles. You can see, you know, kind of some of the marks from being a bare knuckle fighter. True story, Bobby. Our children are grown now, but when they were young and we were around the dinner table at night having dinner meals, one of my favorite conversations, and this would just come up totally random all throughout their childhood, was what would happen if person X got into a bare knuckle fight with person Y? No kidding.
Yeah.
So we're just having a dinner conversation. And I would say, if Jason Bourne and if James Bond got into a bare knuckle fight in a back alley, which is going to win? And the conversation around the dinner table after that was just incredible. You are the guy that's going to win literally every time there's a bare knuckle fight because you've never been beat.
Oh, to me, I was a boxing champion too, but for bare knuckle, I just seemed more. It was my deal. I love it. It was a different world, but it was different for me. It was my own.
Yeah, 73-0. But I want to go back. So a lot of this episode, we just need to tell the audience what the world of bare knuckle fighting is like. But in order to do that, let's get into Dad introducing you to this sport at 11 years old. Because in most societies, that would be considered child abuse and your father would be arrested for this. But let's talk about you at 11 years old fighting grown men for money in back alleys. Can you just go ahead and take over the conversation and talk about how you got involved in this lifestyle?
Well, I see how I'm a gypsy driver, Romany gypsy driver. My people, fighting, religion and fighting was our life. We try to be the best we can. A lot of my people are stereotyped a different way than like they're talked bad about. But they're like any race of people in the world. There's good and bad in any race, but my whole life, sir, was I grew up. Fighting was like it was immortalized. It was literally with diapers, throwing punch like this, my dad, and my and my dad was like he was a killer street fighter. I mean, probably worse, meaner than I ever wanted to be. I mean, I think I never had to fight him, but he I was born and raised in. See, sure, there's different dogs, right? But they all have the same bloodline, canine bloodline. Like cats are Fleon, the dogs are canine. There's different breeds: poodles, chihuahuas, and there's pit bulls.
Right.
Gypsies are pit bulls. Mad for this fighting. We're born into it. My grandfather was a champion. My great grandfather, old Bob, was a champion. It was back generation and come down to me, sir. And yes, to the normal world. You see little kids out hitting punch your bag and you follow us in punch your bag. Yeah. Yes, it would be not normal, but it was normal to us.
Yeah.
It becomes so abnormal that I love it, sir. I wanted I come from a hard upbringing. I guess for financial and I guess people trying to get out of that slump when I was a little boy. Like in America where you have ghettos, right? Like bad ghettos. These ghettos were the Holiday Inns where I come from. These ghettos are nothing. I mean, and to get out of that, sir, with my father being the way he was, I thank God for it now, but I don't know if I have to do it again. But it was my way. It was our way of thinking, way of upbringing, and not defending him his way of doing what he done, like how he trained me, but it's all he knew, sir. And that's what he was about. You know what I mean? My grandfather before him, and to overcome the things we done was a great thing. But it was my dad. I guess I fought full grown men, 10, 11 years old, and they bark laws. They never appreciated me. But if I was a little killer. I was a little assassin. Throw punches. But I mean, I had to do it, sir, because I knew it was something in me. And when I beat these guys, I got that little bit of praise from my dad.
Sure.
It was hard,
Yeah. Well, if your father, grandfather, grandfather, you're 4 generations into street fighting, it doesn't feel like you're being thrust into something that you don't want to do. In fact, it can feel a little bit like I'm carrying on the family tradition, and I am, I'm making my family proud because I'm continuing to do what the men in my family have done before me. Listen, I got nothing against great fighters out there in every discipline. And I'm talking about martial arts, mixed martial arts, UFC, boxers, and bare-knuckle fighters, man. I got mad respect for people in the martial arts community just because of the lifestyle that you have to live.
Yeah.
You describe yourself as a gypsy. Where did you grow up, Bobby? Can you describe a little bit about your home life, as you were growing up?
Well, so Tyson and Fury, the heavyweight champion world, you know what that is, right? He was same as me, the same people bloodline, probably related to, and we're a nomadic race of people. My mother was an Irish gypsy traveler. My father was a Scottish. And Irish and Scottish that's a big situation.
Wait a second. I got to get this. You have the Irish temper in you, and you have the Scottish flair inside of you at the same time. I can't imagine what that combination must have been like.
I think they were involved. They created. But we got together. There's English gypsy travelers, Scottish, and Irish. A big community. It was all over the world, and and it's also like understand when I was doing all this, it wasn't like just to be the world best, to be the best of our people.
Right.
It's like I'm the best man. Who's the best man to step up to the plate? And it was always all over the world. You hear these stories, our people fighting, and we immortalize this. Like it was the way to be the best fighting man, and proper fighting man always had a good heart. He do you a favor.
All right. I love that.
A proper fighting man was never a bully. I was never a bully. I was a bully slayer. I don't like bullies. But a fighting man is a good man because he's got a heart of gold. People think that you're savagely. Yes, against another fighter, it won't be savage, but not. Yeah. But growing up, sir, I grew up in Canada. All my people, like I said, come from Scotland, Ireland. We're in Canada, grew up there. I come to this country here when I was about 16 years old. I turned pro boxing. I was amateur champion in Canada, and I come over here and I fought. And I turned pro, and I met my wife. My wife's a Scottish traveler over here. And I'm loving my wife. And I come over here, sir, and just started fighting. And it's it's a hard life coming up because
Yeah.
all my life, sir, like when I was young, it was like a ghetto where I come from. I was in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. I don't know if you know the town.
Uh-huh.
It has this beautiful atmosphere. It's a beautiful, town to come visit. But right behind all of that, the falls, it's a border town, sir. It's a bad ghetto.
Right.
You get people. I grew up in that cesspool up there, fighting on the streets and trying to work and survive, and it was hard. And but thank God for it, sir, because the Lord will give you more you can handle in life. And I was able to handle it. And I get emotional. I don't even look last day.
It's all right, buddy.
Okay, but thankful.
Yeah.
That he was I even find here.
Yeah. I love the way that you described yourself as a proper fighter, has a good heart, and you are a bully slayer. And I thank God for men and women that are willing to stand up to bullies. And sometimes the only way to stand up to bullies is to clench your teeth and, make a fist and to stand your ground.
Bullying
when you
today, it's just physical, it's mentally and social media.
Yeah.
Bullying is a bad thing, sir. A lot of bad people.
Right.
They use that to suppress people. Constantly, a bully is a man or woman that will constantly put you down. They're condescending. Yeah. It's an awful way to be that way. I hate that stuff.
And because the world is full of bullies, the world needs a lot of bully slayers out there. And Bobby, I'm going to say it again, man. It is a great honor to be able to talk to a guy like you. You use the word gypsy. I've had the privilege of getting a chance to meet some of the Sinti and Roma people in Europe. And I know a little bit of the gypsy lifestyle, but my guess is most of the listeners, when they hear the word gypsy, they think of the movies a long time ago, and they don't really understand what a gypsy is. And there's an entire culture, of a culture that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years in the gypsy community. Can you describe a little bit about what the culture behind gypsies? Because it is a deep, rich culture, and in my opinion, a beautiful culture that, frankly, Nazi Germany did the best that they could to literally kill every gypsy in Europe and it stamp out that culture. But I think it's beautiful, the gypsy culture, the Sinti and the Roma people, the culture of those folks.
You just said something. I was talking to them. It's very rarely talked about. Like, I know our people were so persecuted at the time, the Nazis in Germany.
Yeah.
It's not, that's how they were talking about the gypsies part of it. So many people, my granny used to talk about friends of hers who escaped and that. Our people is very much in the culture of making music and moving around constantly in towns, making things, sell things, and never sitting around in one place. And what happens is a lot of them went to Europe, like Scotland, Ireland, England, and they sell there. And then like travelers, gypsies. But sir, our people have been very persecuted. To this day, in England, there's places you can walk into a bar, they'll say, no tinkers or pikeys allowed. That's what we call the African American man the N-word.
Yeah.
I've been involved in situations where because who I am, you'll have to leave this restaurant. How do you get with your wife? We don't want your people in here. I never see that. But we have been persecuted a lot. But to this day, there's a lot of hate out there too. Sometimes if you look for good, you'll find it. If you look for bad, you'll find it. I always, if it's something bad, I just probably want something good. But my people, they overcome so many adversaries, obstacles, and they're good people. It's like this chair, like I said. There's good and bad in every race.
Of course.
you know, and our only problem is that our people get really pushed bad because they only pick on the bad. You know, look at the good things
Yeah.
we do. I mean, but I mean, we have old ways of ours, and with different languages. You know, the Scottish, English, Irish. We have our own way of normally Gypsy talk.
Right.
I can have a full conversation with my kids on a different language, and regular people don't even know. I mean, it's a secret world that we kept our tradition, old ways of ours, and I would say it's like, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe 4 of them are bad and 6 of them are good. I'm just trying to figure, like,
Yeah.
for example, we're good people, sir.
Right. Yeah, for the listener out there, I've had a chance to study a little bit about the Gypsy culture, the Sinti and Roma people of Europe, and they're basically like Bedouins that live in Europe, in modern day Europe or North America. And although they kind of travel from place to place and live off of the land, most of the rest of the Western Europe gets very, very intimidated just because of how different the lifestyle is of the Gypsies. And so for hundreds of years, Gypsies have been persecuted, as you've just described, Bobby. And just to be able to maintain their way of life has been a constant struggle. And I mean both physical as well as money and culture and language and everything. So when you combine your father, grandfather, great-grandfather were in the, fist fighting, grew up fighting with their fists, and you're a gypsy and you have to literally fight to maintain your culture. No wonder you would end up, fighting in the underground, let's just be honest, illegal, industry of bare-knuckle fighting. And a guy who's been in 73 fights and never been defeated has gone through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and you've seen some really, really bad parts of the human race, man.
Yeah, I see places that it's actually all our way. Bad atmospheres, bad areas. But the underground circuit, see, when I got involved in it, I was already an accomplished fighter, and a lot of I already trained into me bare-knuckle fighting, so
right,
it was easy for me to adapt to. But bare-knuckle boxing service, but and it's just a gypsy. It's been going all over the world for hundreds of years, like back.
Yeah, for a long, long time, right?
Constantly, constantly. It's going on today. You know, there's still underground fights up and down. I don't go to them, but I hear about them all the time. They invite me to come to them, but now it is sanctioned. Don't get me wrong, it's a sport now, but it's still thriving. It's always been here, sir. It's like we Charles Bronson, Hard Times. You ever see back into the Charlie Bronson? He played Hard Times with the bare-knuckle fighter, and the reason he done it before the fights. You ever seen this? You walk in, you went, because that's the old. You have to show your hands. Make sure you have those.
Right, show them your hands to make sure you don't have a shiv or something in there, right?
And a lot of the dirty fighters will let their nails go real long, sir, and they would get you in the eye.
Uh-huh.
You have to make sure they cut their nails off for your fight.
Okay, so most of the listeners have no idea what this underground world of bare-knuckle fighting is all about. They have no idea what it looks like fighting under a bridge. They've maybe seen a fight from Las Vegas that's televised around the world. Maybe they've watched boxing in Olympics, but they've got no idea the hard underground world of bare-knuckle fighting. So now, man, I want you to just kind of introduce the audience to what this world is like and the kind of people in that world. And also some of the kind of people that you fought against, or that you had no choice but to, fight in the same circles with.
It's funny you said kind of people in that world. At that moment when we're fighting in the underground events, I seen police officers, judges, attorneys, mixed with gang members, and that moment where everybody's getting along, betting on the fight.
I love it. I've got this mental image of a judge fighting against a gang member, bare-knuckled. It's
amazing, and everybody knows who they are. Nobody talks to them, but they're just supporting the fighter. But besides that, I remember one time I was fighting in it was a grocery store, and this part of the store here was a regular building that was vacant, and we're splashing a bunch of blood up and down. I guess people walking on the next maybe I'll just shout oblivious to this world is going on. It's right next to him. I mean, there was a place one time we had a fight. There's a police station right here, and right across from this bare-knuckle fight, little place. Didn't even know what was going on. I mean, you can't make it up. The stuff I see, it's insane.
It is Fight Club for real. And let's just go ahead and tell everybody the first rule of Fight Club while they're listening to this episode. Bobby, tell everybody what the first rule of Fight Club is.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah. The first rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club. That's why you can have a Fight Club directly across the street from a police station or in a empty grocery store while people are walking by shopping right outside the front doors.
That's what we guys did. It's amazing. It's like I remember one time I pulled out of the grocery store and we're looking at the grocery store and the vacant store, they opened and they put newspapers before and dry the blood up.
Dry the blood up, yeah.
It was amazing. Like, people, this world exists right next to people. They don't even realize it all the time.
Okay, so you've gone against gang members from the Hells Angels. You've gone against bodyguards for Jay-Z. You've gone against, some of the Latin and the Jamaican, fight crews out there. And obviously, being 73-0, you've beat them all. But I know this from being an Army Ranger for a lot of years. Every fight is different. And just because you won the last fight doesn't mean you're going to win the next fight. So can you talk us through some of those fights and some of the really difficult moments in some of those fights that stick out to you?
First of all, there's no rounds. We fight. I'm not worried about
I want to say that again for anybody who's driving right now. They got the kids in the back of the minivan and they're being loud and they missed that part. When you start fighting, there's no rounds. You just keep fighting until it's over.
Yeah. So like we usually say best beat. That means like I give up, or he's not cold, one or the other. So there's no rounds. I don't have to worry about the doctor stopping for a little cut. I don't worry about the judge. You see in boxing, I was fighting the judges, referees, the border. It was so much politics. But in the bare-knuckle world, it's so crazy and graphic. It was no politics. It was more proper. Sure. It was more fair and square than anything else in the world. That's the God's truth. But you had a little fight, and fight up and down. I fought one time this black guy, right on Jamaica. They told me the gang, anyway, we were fighting. Bang away, bang away. I beat him. He gets up, he bites you right in my shoulder. So government, I had to do it at my own back. I mean, so it was I beat him, but I seen things that I fought this Russian guy one time. In the story, and he comes in, he comes to the employee, sir, and I said, "Why is he wearing a sweater?" He was that furry. I swear, that guy, I thought he had a sweater. I never said that. Like George Animal still, right? I was a little fighting in this place here it was in New York, and I walked. It was insanity. As I'm walking into the fight, sir, they had pet panthers and cats, and it was insane. This whole environment. And I fight them for a long time. Big bastard. I was like a Super Bowl world champions. They brought me to fight me. I mean, they picked me up, and the other things he was supposed to do. So, and bare-knuckle boxing, you're fighting bare-knuckle. There's no last or this is.
You're trading punches, right, until somebody goes down.
See, if you want to get dirty, we call that rough and tumble. Fair and square means you stand it right. Rough and tumble means anything goes. And I don't get me wrong. I done more of my share of those rough and tumbles. I don't. Sure. But anyways, we're fighting. He's doing a lot of things he shouldn't do. I beat his old eye socket. I cracked the his eye was coming out. And me telling him what goes, right? I didn't want to fight him. And finally he was beat. And he did not shut him out. And I'm looking like this. The Russian boy, actually put a gun on him. He put a gun on me. And I looked at him, I said, son, no, you don't want to do that. I remember that like yesterday. And finally, he screamed at me. And the old man in the background, the old head guy, he said, put that gun down. He says, and pay that boy's money. And he put it down. And so I walked out. Man, that was a close one. That's the danger of this game, too. That's what can happen. And as I walked into the car, I said, thank you, God. I did this for my family.
Sure. Yeah. Any warrior who's been on the battlefield, who's come away from a firefight, has had the exact same experience. Like, God, I don't know why I'm still alive, but thank you, God. I did this for my family. I did this for my friends back home.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you spared me, but you gave me another day. And it's a day that I'm not going to take for granted.
Amen to that.
Bobby, I want to talk about the honor of some of the fights that you've been in. But before I do that, one more question. There is a lot of underhanded, there's a current behind some the bare knuckle fighting, like Russian mob, like gangs, stuff like that. And although they're not throwing the fights necessarily, there's a whole lot of ugly underbelly to that whole world. Can you describe very briefly, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, some of that ugly underbelly behind the bare knuckle fighting, the bare knuckle fighting that goes on around the world?
Well, I want to. I hear a lot of bad stories. The fights that I was involved in, my fights, I got to be honest here. The professional boxing world was more corrupted than the underground world.
Okay, you guys heard it firsthand from him. The professional boxing world was more corrupted than the bare knuckle back alley fights that Bobby was in.
I'm a former world cruiserweight boxing champion too. I fought the best fighters in boxing too. And let me tell you something. They're the biggest crooks and robbers in the world. Cool game. The underground world, yes, the atmosphere was terrifying. Yes, were you fighting? It was warfare. Oh, God's warfare. They didn't give you a better shot. And I fought world championship fights. I'm fighting, right? And they stop with my little cut my nose. Come on. You don't want to let me go up my shield. Don't get to me. I cut my nose. You don't care if I cut my nose or I cut, I mean, and that's
of course.
I see this stuff. And I knew, sir, I wasn't fighting the fighter, fighting the judge. I'm fighting the referee. I had world title fights. The referees have whispered in my ear, go back home, you gypsy bastard. Hand to God.
Yeah.
Right in the ring. Stop a fight me and whisper, go home, gypsy. You can't, sir. I never seen that in the world. That is terrifying. The world is like king and cockfighting. It's just like, I never seen that corruption like that, sir. It's amazing. And at that time, like I told you, you got officers and attorneys, and they're all in harmony. All you have plays betting, they're all friends. I guess we're their enemies. Yes, I've been involved with a few situations, miscarried, but as far as corruption and badness, the pro boxing game, what I've seen is bad, sir. The pro boxing game, sir, was a great. I love it. The fight, the boxing. I love boxing, but it's turned to be a computerized corruption now. It ain't real fights no more. So it's all like the fighters today. They're not the fighters I come from. They're more worried about their shoes and watches and having a little fight. They want how they looked in that fighter.
Yeah. Bobby, I love your language. I'm a big fan of UFC. Had some friends that were fighters at the beginning of the UFC and, went in there and traded punches, with the best of the best. And one of the things that I love to watch is immediately after the fight is over with, I love to watch both fighters go together, and you can see that immediately they have this connection, they have this bond, they have the deepest respect for each other. I don't know that most of the audience understands just how much these two warriors care about each other immediately after the fight's over with. But when that bell goes off and they come out of the, their side of the cage, they're going to give it everything that they've got. And I love your language of fighting with your friends while you're in there. And the real ugly part of the fight is outside of the, the bare knuckle contest. It's the seedy underbelly behind all of that. Can you describe, what it's like to be two men that respect and honor one another, but are going to punch each other as hard as you can and do your best to knock somebody out? And after the fight's over with, you care deeply about that guy that you just knocked out.
Absolutely. You care about them because you respect them. They step up a fail. Fights is bad all the time, right? And I'll fight him in a place, and he's fighting me. Bare-Knuckle fighter. and we're fighting. Before the fight, he comes and he wasn't cocky. He was very respectful. Shook my hand, but he was there to win because he put money down.
Sure.
See, each man puts money on winner take all. See, there's no I'm going home with no prize if I don't win. So I had to.
There's no split in the prize money, right?
So he put his half and I put me half down, and we're going at it. So as we're fighting, we're banging away. We're in a place, and he's like, gets spark outside. He keeps running over, so he looks at the window. He comes back 4 or 5 times. He says, my wife said, "What's something going on?" He had like a gang, they're coming trying to rape me. What's going on? And I grab him. And he goes, "We're about to tell you how much I respect fighters. What they do and what they do. Why they do it. Why they fight for a reason. Listen here." So he gets up. Is this? He comes in and nails him. Bang, he's out. And he's crying. But not crying, so I do cry, but Steve water runs. He went to the window. He has money. His little babies are coming. He's got 4 children. Singing God. So I give him his money back. I give him out. He was fighting for his kids, huh? And nobody watched him. He couldn't pay for babysitter. But he put the money in. He come in his game. He come for a fight. He got his money. And he got me the first fight out. But he was looking. He was fighting for the babies in the car. One power because he was a man's man, but people do stuff for the children. They're better than them. I said, Alan, I didn't have no regret having his money back. And I get mugged because I respect him, sir. I really did because he done it for his babies. There's in this game, I've had all kinds of people. I've had some rotten bastards. I've had some good people. People do in favor. In general, in life, sir, whatever profession is, yourself. You're a champion. You're an industry. You got a great thing you got going on. You have to push hard to get going. You have to keep going, but you can't think of what won't happen. You are top raiders, or you were in a battle. You're a proper management. I respect that so much. By the way, I want to say that you have to keep going. Yes, obstacles look like you ain't never gonna do it, but you have to go on that obstacle. The only way to get out of the fire sometimes is to walk right through it.
Yeah. Bobby, you are the living example of why I started this podcast, so that people would hear what you just said. There are some times in life that the only way to the other side of that fire is to walk right through it. And it's going to be really bad and it's going to hurt, but you got no choice. So figure out a way to man up or to woman up and to get yourself through the fire.
That's right. Every man and woman in life is going to go through obstacles like a hard time, right?
Yeah.
We're going to things that we throw at you. You can't explain why they're throwing you. We can't blame nobody why they're throwing us, but they are.
Right.
Take it and fight it.
Yeah. And some days, the reason this podcast is called Unbeatable is some days you're going to get punched in the face so hard that you're going to want to lay down and stay down. And you have to decide, are you going to get back up and start throwing punches, or are you going to stay down? And every episode of this podcast is just so that somebody who's been punched in the face by life will get up tomorrow and start throwing punches instead of laying down and staying down because it just hurts so bad.
Amen. You got to get up to it, because if you don't see anybody that listen, you'll never do something unless you want to do it yourself.
That's right.
If you want it, you're going to do it. And I'm telling anybody out there, believe me, to come where I come from in my upbringing and to be where I'm not anywhere great, but to be talking to you right now is an honor. To be talking to you and telling people this story, to me, that's like one of the world championship again. And I mean this, whatever profession in your life, go for it. If you want it, go for it. Only you can get it. Only you can do it.
Go for it and hold nothing back. Absolutely. Wholeheartedly agree. This is why I love the movie Cinderella Man so much. It's not that he's fighting for the championship. He's fighting for his children, and I got to feed my family. And if I don't win this fight, they don't eat tonight. And I can really, really respect any guy or any gal, that single mom that's fighting to keep her children alive, that guy that you face that's looking out the window because he's got 4 children in the car and he knows that if I don't fight, they don't eat.
No.
I got the greatest respect for people like that.
I took fights where my hands were broken, and I had to think.
Wow.
Yeah, I pretended it was a broken. At one time, my hand was broken, and I went to a boxing fight, and the commissioner, and I put my wife's makeup on my hand to cover all the bruises.
Oh my goodness!
He was grabbing me, take your hand. I'm like this, like that was good. I wanted to cry. It's pain, but I had to because it was money for my family.
Yeah. This is the perfect time. This is the perfect time in the conversation to talk about how life changed for you. I want to hear about your wife because she's got to be an incredible woman, but I also want to hear about your baby and how life started to take a very different turn when you had after the birth of your daughter. So let's talk about your amazing wife for a few moments.
My wife's name is Rose, and she was Scottish Gypsy. She's tough. Listen, I'm 30 years married, and I have never even won a fight. Not even a draw her. She beat me every time. You know what I mean?
Rose is the only one undefeated in this 30-year marriage. I get it.
But my boy, me and my wife, we have my boy Bobby Jr. He's 27 years old now. He's married. I got a granddaughter, Marianne. She's as smart as oil.
All right.
Oh, she's
good. Congrats.
He was ranked number 9 in the world as a pro boxer. He was a super middleweight, and he retired. He was 9-0. To be honest with you, I'm glad he did because I didn't want him to do it, but he followed me to the gym. I mean, all his life, and I never give him the life that I had. Bobby had the finest life you can have. It's normal, but he wanted to be a boxer. I'm glad he walked away from it. But my little girl, Charlene, she's 15 years old now. Well, she's the apple in the eye. I've got she runs me like the best you ever seen. Okay, I'm her little puppy dog. She's got me under control, but she's a good girl, sir. You know, my kids, I try to be like. In other words, I was born with an old wooden spoon broken in half. They have the silver spoon. You know, I want that, the gold spoon. I want to have everything I never had, sir. And I thank God for my kids because, see, when I was a young boy, my grandfather used to say something all the times. When you go to the rough places to train and fight, right? There's a lot of characters. Leave the bums at the gym. Don't ever bring them home with you. I mean, there are a lot of people you don't ever, like even the world that I was in, sir, and the Bare-Knuckle, my wife, Staten, will tell you the Arthur, Staten Bonner, following for 15 years there. I never had my wife or my kids associated with them kind of people. Not that they're wrong, but they're people like, you know, they're different. They're different than what my wife would be, what is, and what she is. So my wife grew up different than I did, again. So my wife's Scottish people with drivers, they're over in America. They're totally different Scottish drivers than we were in Canada. It's a different world apart. But it's a crazy deal. When I see her, it's oh my God! I gotta have her. When I see my wife, sir, I fall over and she loved my life. It really is. But my wife's also the backbone. She's a good person. She loves God and she wants me to do good in life. But it's hard. It's right down the show. I don't think you ever be done again because it's insane. I put in front of my wife. Didn't go. I was having these fights sometimes. I go back. I fell off the roof on I was working today on the asphalt truck hit me. I make things like that. She knew, but she didn't want to say she knew. You know what I mean? But it's a tough world, sir. But thank God for my wife and my family. And if it wasn't for them, a lot of days you just want to, in life, sometimes you get overloaded. And you want to just put your head down. And you say, why is this happening? Why is this going on in my life? But God will pull you through. Yeah. Whatever belief you believe believe it with your full heart.
Right.
Try to be the best you can, and you will be blessed. The better person you are, it follows you. And do right. If you walk behind somebody, they probably won't. Say, excuse me, sir, give me the wallet.
Right.
Don't put it in your pocket. Now, tell you what, the pay of price, karma. Be the best you can, and you will be blessed for life.
Yeah. Bobby, I know 100 guys like you that I've had the honor of meeting in the military who are some of the toughest, some of the most impressive warriors on the planet. but man, they melt when they're around their family and their children. Well, their version of Charlene will absolutely melt them into big teddy bears. And anybody who knows them will be like, where did this guy come from? This big, tough, strong warrior who now just melts into a puddle of goo because of their children. And it just shows how strong and how tender this warrior heart can be. And I'm talking about a bare knuckle fighter at the same time, how strong and tender that heart can be at the exact same time.
You're right, 100%. And you just said something. I was thinking. You said, 100 words. You do killers, the toughest man ever. Think about that. I knew fighters that were the best you ever seen, and no one ever heard of them.
Yeah,
they could have been world professional champions. They just top bare-knuckle fighters. They just do all this. Like the toughest fighter that ever come across my life is the guy that no one ever heard of.
Yep.
It's insane in the world, man. Listen, there's a lot of good men out there, a lot of good women out there, and bare-knuckle boxing is a very unique sport. It's not boxing. Boxing is a whole.
It's fighting. World. That's right.
It is. See, the hand in bare-knuckle boxing is very important. See, you put a glove on me, you put a big old hand around me like a cast. You put well, I'm getting harder because my hands are ready. See, bare-knuckle, I don't hit as hard. I go maybe 40, 50% because I don't break my hand. It's more.
That's right. You can break your hand.
Exactly. Yep. It's more, you got to aim right. And also the hand in bare-knuckle boxing is like a glove. So you give a punch, I catch it. Bang, 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 bang. The hands are going more. You put a glove on, I can't do the glove. It's a whole different, and even the way to stand and move in fighters are, and bare-knuckle is a whole different way of moving than regular boxing. It's an art. And it's a whole different, it really is. It's a whole different game. And now it's legalized. They got a sanction, and it's coming along pretty good now,
I'm glad that you called it an art. When I refer to it as the martial arts, the fighting arts, I'm talking about any of those fight disciplines out there where guys and gals are going at it with each other. And I'm talking from wrestling all the way up to the pros in the Olympics. And there is nothing but art behind it. And of course, this is true of bare knuckle too. So now let's go back to the first rule of Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. So what caused you and Staten to sit down and to say, we got to put this into a book? By the way, for the listeners, a book that just dropped on Tuesday, just 2 days ago, the book Bare-Knuckle just came out. Your story, Bobby. What caused you guys to say, we got to get this into a book?
Man, this story is incredible, this journey, and a lot of people have to understand stuff. Some of the things I told you about the atmosphere, the underground, being in scary places. Staten was there. This fellow Staten, he when he first come into me, I says, dressed nice. I said, like a little nerd kind of a fellow. I said, I'm talking to me. He has this story. Listen, he's more reliant than I am. He was in places.
Really?
One time, I was in a place where we were training, and they wanted to rob the camera crew. The guys, you can't do that, my man. I said, he's been there. He's seen things. And I'll be honest with you, he'll tell you something. My life is like a human high rope. You didn't see it, you say it's impossible. You couldn't believe it. But he's an investigative journalist. He was there. He's seen things. And thank God for him, because a lot of people would have went in the field position before and hit. I mean, the places he poor bugger's been. I caused him a lot of problems. Okay, this thing he took out of the void from me, but thank God he's my pal and he's done a great job on it. Here's why I open up to him, because my world is being painted in the picture. It should be painted. I want people to realize that there's a lot of good men that disinterested that fight. Regular people in the world that are fighting for something better, fighting. Because they're not getting that job. They can't go down to the store and buy food for your family. What are they going to do? If they can do this as an opportunity, they have to do it. Because, again, sometimes you realize the only way you're going to get it done is if you do it yourself.
Yeah. Well, huge props to Staten for bringing some of the honor and the dignity of bare knuckle fighting, to the reader. But Like you just said, a guy that has the courage to follow you under those overpasses and in those back alleys, to watch some of those fights firsthand, and then put it all together in a book. And Staten, man, you write really, really well. I'm not just talking about the journals and the news articles that you wrote for, but this book immediately becomes, an award, wins an award for excellence in sports journalism because of how well he writes. And I hope a lot of people pick up this book. Go for it, man.
We're in a fight. He was in a fight scene. We're fighting on the ground. I'm fighting this guy. It was like 11 minutes. Now that's eternity in bare-knuckle boxing. 11 minutes straight.
Yeah, 11-minute fight. Sure.
Good kids had a good jab on him. Anyways, I beat him, and the place is going nuts. But somebody said something like there's a raid. And see, the reason why I wore a wife beater, a black tank top, if I put a coat on, I look the same as everybody else. I try to hide. But anyways,
so you can slip in with the crowd and get out of there right before you get arrested.
That's why it was my signature mark, a black tank top, my jeans. And that's what coat on. I'm normal. But anyway, it was there. And there was another reporter that was there. Wasn't saying another guy, I forget his name, but in the midst of everybody running, the poor bugger that come to watch it fell down the stairs, everybody traveling. And other side, his name went, Bob, is the guy okay? I said, what? I don't even, is the poor guy okay? The thing this guy has seen him, he's saying this insane. It was,
sure.
Come on and say, it's amazing. It was downtown Philadelphia. Where was a place?
All right.
And there was some, and again, there was some 50 Gypsy dump trucks and 40 Mercedes-Benz. It was insane at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. I guess it did draw attention. It's something. It was a big night. It was crazy.
Obviously, this book is just released, and I'm going to challenge everybody in the audience to go out and pick up a copy. In fact, when we get done with this interview together, I'm going to give away a free copy. That's just how much I want people to hear your story. But the subtitle of the book, Bare-Knuckle, is A Dad, a Dream, and a Fight Like You've Never Seen. We've talked to the dad. We've talked a little bit about the fights. Now let's talk about the dream for a second before we wrap this up. Like, what was the dream that you hoped to be able to accomplish in bare-knuckle fighting? And man, I hope that one of these days this book becomes a movie that blows Fight Club or Cinderella Man, blows it away at the box office. But what was the dream behind the whole, career in bare-knuckle fighting?
Immortalizing the fighters. There's a lot of great men. A lot of great Gypsy fight men that are related to me too. They're great champion fighters. I idolize them. Want to be like them.
Yeah.
And to accomplish my goals. And I said something to Satan last time we were talking. A lot of my friends when I was kids, I didn't have any money, sir. Growing up, getting hard. What my father gave me, I didn't have what they had. He never had what I had. I was made for this. And my goal, sir, is to give my family a better life. And I got to accomplish great things in my life. Boxing champion, world champion, bare-knuckle. And I got my goals accomplished, but I got still a lot of goals I want to accomplish. I want my family to do good by me. And I want everybody to know there's a lot of things in the world going on that the world looking into. But if you really look into it, it ain't as bad as you think. And give them a break. And this sport now is sanctioned and fair play to the guys that got to go in the glove rollers. Right, I'm trying to get going, and it's not the way that I wanted to go. It could do a lot more better, but still, it's doing it. But it still exists today in the underground world. It's still going on. And my goal, sir, is everybody can hear my story in my book. If one little thing will help the life, look over this year. I come from nothing. Everything was against me. God help me up. I'm still fighting.
Sure did.
I'm still going through situations.
All right.
I know the Lord is with me. And the Lord will vindicate you. The Lord
is right.
People will say the Lord, anybody out there can be in a position where we're being recruited, we're being judged, we're being talked about, but listen, talk to God means nothing. That's the place there. You go back into your heart and God will let you be the best you can, no matter whatever you do. The best you can at it. And your goal should be, anybody's goal should be to better yourself in life and be a better person. That's what I want to do, sir. Just help one person out in life. Listen to me. And help them. And advice. And I know the train fighters too, sir. I see fighters doing so many things so wrong. You know, I would help them because I could help them get better how I would.
Yeah. Bobby, we started this interview talking about your dad at 11 years old, bringing you out there to fight against grown men. And I said in many cultures today, that would be considered child abuse. But you just said it. He gave you something that most sons will never get from their fathers. And probably the perfect way to...
Yeah. When I said a minute ago, when I was emotional, when I was younger, I was been having, when I was running poor. A lot of the Gypsy kids had lots of money. Kids. I was embarrassed. My shoes, pants, and yeah, they had stuff I didn't have. But my father gave me something that they didn't have. There's only one Bobby Gunn. I was great, and that's why I look at it. Not that I'm justifying it, but that's the truth. He didn't do that. I wouldn't have been a hard man like I was to be able to do what I done. And again, it was crazy, man. I'm the son, and he wanted his son to be the best. And I give it to him. And I love him. I love him.
Bobby, I love your story because most people in the world will never even see, let alone be exposed to the bare knuckle fighting, sport. But you're describing what every parent on the planet knows intuitively. What parent wouldn't fight for their children to have a better life? What parent wouldn't be willing to bleed if that's what it took so that their children didn't have to go through the hardships that they went through? And every parent listening to this episode can say, I don't know anything about bare knuckle fighting, but I know exactly what Bobby's talking about right now, because I would fight and I would bleed for my children. That's their dream too.
Even a crocodile will care for their young.
That's right.
The problem with the world today, they get it called, is it called the kangaroo syndrome? You know what that is, right?
No. What was that?
A kangaroo, a beautiful kangaroo, right? They're strong and they care for the baby, their pouch. But if they're being chased by a predator, we'll take the baby on board it. Even a crocodile will care for the young. Probably let it. People get that kangaroo. So, like, if you run into the kangaroo syndrome, whenever they're holding on to something happens rough or tough, they'll throw it aside to protect themselves. And then it would be, I would die for my wife, for my little baby. I would fight 50 Mike Tysons right now for my family in a heartbeat. No doubt. Yes, I'm a man. I'm a fight man, and I love my family. Listen, life is a fight. You got to get everything. You got to put your pants on, your old socks. You got to go to work. You got to keep going for your family. You do that for your family because you love them. You provide the best you can provide them. Love is a wonderful thing. If you really know what love is, you fought for your country, sir. You're a proper man. You're a ranger. You're a warrior. You done it for your family. Thank you. Thank you for serving. I want to tell you. I mean that. Of course. You're a warrior. You're a bummer. I'm talking to the kind of man I don't be my life.
No, Bobby, I don't know about that, man. I got the greatest respect for the men and women who are willing to sacrifice and, like a crocodile, will fight for their young, if whatever it takes, to make sure that they have a better life than you and I had, than they had growing up. Bobby, I couldn't find a better way to stop this episode than to just respond or repeat what you just said. Life is a fight. And you are one of those examples of you're going to get punched in the face by life repeatedly. And sometimes you're going to be fighting with broken knuckles. And you just decide that no matter what, I'm going to keep getting up and I'm going to keep giving it everything that I've got, because what other option do I have? But here's what we're going to do at the end of this episode, Bobby. I'm going to challenge every single listener to go out and to buy a copy of your book, Bare-Knuckle, Bobby Gunn, 73-0, undefeated, a dad, a dream, and a fight like you've never seen. And here's why, Bobby. I want to see this book goes to #1 on the bestseller list. There it is right there. But the reason I want to see it go to the reason I want to see this book go to #1 is because I want your book to be made into a movie. I want to watch this in the big big screen in the theater one day, because I believe you are the Cinderella man.
Thank you.
You are the original Fight Club, and people need to hear your story, man.
Thank you, my pal. Thank you so much. It's so kind of you. And thank you so much for having me on and talking about it, because it's a complex situation, but it's crazy, but it's real. And I'm more true than true. I'm leaving hard. I don't lie, so I tell the way it's life, because listen, life, everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a book.
Yeah,
Everybody's got a movie.
absolutely.
And that's your story. And this is mine. And I hope it can help anybody else who listens.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people have been encouraged, been fired up, or helped because of this today. And Bobby, it is an honor to be able to talk to a dad and a fighter like you. So thanks for being my guest today, man.
Thank you for having me on. It's an honor. Honestly, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean it.
You just heard it from Bobby. I couldn't put it in better words. Life is a fight, and every parent out there would be willing to fight or bleed so that their children have a better future than they had. And Bobby, man, I've got the greatest respect for you. In fact, it's guys like you that I created the Unbeatable podcast just so the world would get a chance to meet people, guys and gals, with the same heart that you have, a heart that you showed on this episode. Man, thank you for being a guest with me on this episode of Unbeatable. Hey guys, if you want to get a copy of Bobby's book, I'm going to challenge you. It just came out. The book is entitled Bare-Knuckle. The Bobby Gunn story, 73-0, undefeated, a dad, a dream, and a fight like you've never seen. This book was written by Staten Bonner. And by the way, I'm going to interview him soon. But if you want to get a copy of this book, it was released 2 days ago on Amazon. And I really want to challenge everybody. This is a story that I want to see made into a motion picture. So for the entire listening audience, the whole Unbeatable Army, will you help me? Will you go to Amazon and will you go ahead and buy the book titled Bare-Knuckle? We'll put the link to that book in the notes to this episode. And for somebody who's part of our email list called the Unbeatable Army, I'm just going to give you a free copy. But for everybody out there, would you go ahead and buy a copy? Let's make this book go to #1 on the list so that maybe somebody will pick up the screenplay and turn this thing into a motion picture in the future. Because Bobby's story is motivating. Would you agree? Guys, I want to thank you for tuning into this episode. I want to thank you for being part of the greatest podcast audience on the planet. And if you just stumbled across us for the first time, if you just heard Bobby's story and you were blown away like I was, there's a lot more stories like his on this episode or on this podcast. So why don't you subscribe and then go look back through some of those earlier episodes of guys and gals that have gone through some incredible circumstances and come out stronger on the other side like Bobby. You can also follow us on social media. Just search for @Unbeatable Podcast on pretty much all the social media platforms out there. And you'll see not just content from the podcast, but you'll see other content where we just try to keep you motivated throughout the week. You'll also see people on social media like our fan of the week this week, Robin Morris. And Robin, I just want to say thank you for the way that you're engaged, the way that you're connected. Thank you for being part of this incredible audience. For everybody else out there, if you're not already part of the Unbeatable Army, why don't you join for free? Just go ahead and go over to unbeatablearmy.com and we will put you on the email list, and I'll start sending content to you made directly for you, directly to your inbox. So just jump over to unbeatablearmy.com. Thanks for joining me for this episode. I hope you were fired up to go face the fight of your life after this episode. See you next time. God bless.
These stories of triumph over adversity will help you handle your toughest days in life and become unbeatable.